I'd like to take a look at some more advanced dimensioning tools and ways to edit them. Let us open up the dimension example file and let's go to the dimensions tab. Now we already have some dimensions set up here. You saw earlier that when I select a dimension, I can make some minor changes through the grip edits very quickly like this. Now, one other thing you can do with the grip edits is just not select them, but to hover over them. And each grip that's in a different location will have these different options available to you. So let's start right here. This is the text grip. If I click it, then I can move the dimension line and the text up and down and then left and right, putting it in a different position. If I just select the dimension object and then hover over this grip, I get these options. I can stretch. That's that move option there. I can move with the dimension line. That's the same sort of thing. There's a lot of overlap between some of these. I can move the text only. So if I want to put it in a different spot, I can do that. I can move with a leader. So I can create a leader that way. I can put it above the dimension line. That's kind of a reset. I can center it vertically, move it back up again, and I can reset the text position altogether. So you can do a lot very quickly just by selecting and hovering over the text grip options right there. Now, my endpoint here for my extension lines, and at the top here, give me similar options. These are my stretch. I can stretch just this option. The dimension group are the two different dimensions in this case, and I can move them uniformly, or I can just stretch the one. I can use the continue dimension, which is really cool because it starts from this extension line and continues on to some other point. And it just keeps going until I press enter. Now, if I'm working with baseline dimensions, I can continue that. Or if I want to flip this arrowhead, I can just use the flip arrow. And it only flips the arrow that it's by. It doesn't do the arrowheads on both sides of the dimension. So if I want to flip this one, I need to come over here and do the same thing. And again, if I select it, go back to that grip, flip arrow, it'll put it back to the way it was before. So that is how you can edit your dimensions individually very quickly. Now, if I select the dimension and I right click on it, I can get to some dimension specific options here. I can get to the dimension style. I can save this one as new, as in brand new style. And if I've made some overrides or changed it, I can switch it to one of the other styles that I already have. I can change the precision, and I can also reset it back to the way it's supposed to be according to the style and the way it was first created. Now, if you go to the ribbon, specifically on the Annotate tab, there are other options here that you can use to work with your dimensions. I can adjust space. This will adjust the space between linear dimensions. So if I select it, and then I pick this dimension and this dimension, press enter, I can enter a value or I can just have it automatically set to default settings. If I select that space option again, and I pick this guy and that guy, press enter, and auto, and it automatically puts it together. Now, of course, this is going to need some kind of adjustment, so you'll just have to play with it until you find the number that works best for you. This will add a jog in your dimension. It'll put a little jog line in it. You can see what that looks like there. Select it, figure out where I want it to go, and there it is. Of course, if I select it again, I can grip edit that to move it. And if I use the jog dimension again, select it, and I can remove it or add it to another dimension line. Now, some of these other options here, I can inspect it. This will add some inspection notes to your dimensioning. This will update that dimension object to fit a new style. I can reassociate a dimension to linear objects that are in model space so that they're associated to them again. This option here gives me access to all of my dimensioning tools, not just the generic, really quick, fast dimension tool. This is my quick dimension, which is an older version of this new dimension command. You can just select the object and it will automatically create a linear dimension for it, but you have to be in the same space as the line work. So if I go to model space here, click the quick dimension, I select it, press enter, and here's my dimension style. I'm going to erase it so it doesn't get in the way. Then here are a few other commands. This was your continue command. You can get to that now through grip edits and baseline. This will just start dimensions from one side, and you'll be able to dimension however many you want to. And again, you can get to those through your grip edits as well. Now, those are some of the advanced features that you can use. If you open up your properties palette by pressing Control 1 and you select your dimension, you'll have access to all of the settings for that dimension right here. You can change the color, change the layer. You can change the dim style here. You can make it associative or not. You can change your arrow style to something different, make it a dot, whatever it is that you want it to be. Change the arrow side. You have settings for every little bit or aspect of dimensions. You'd even have control over the text right here, the final fit, the units, the alternative units, the tolerances, etc. As you can see, there are a lot of settings and options for dimensions. That's why they can be so difficult to deal with and to edit sometimes.